Come watch me put sprayed edges on my book, Malthus, Necromancer Unchained. And in this video, I'll show you everything you need to know to make sprayed edges for your own books. Once you have your book picked out, the first step is to cover it with paper so you don't get any paint on the cover of the book when it's time to paint it. And you need to make sure you have a little bit longer than the height of the book. So you have some margins left over, and it needs to be long enough to cover both sides of the book. So you tuck the paper in on the first edge of the cover there, get it in there nice and tight, and then you do the same thing with the second side. I just use the brown packing paper, and the tube it comes with is a bit long, so sometimes I have to cut off some excess here, which is no problem, but you want to get the extra paper out of the way so it doesn't cover any of the pages in the next step. So then we cut the corners here, and that's so we can fold these margins over and protect the edge of the book cover as well when we paint it. Once you do that, then it's time to tape the excess margins to the book. You got to get a little bit of tape too to get the cloth part that's against the spine of the book. And then I also take two pieces and I put it on the inside of the cover there just because the brown wrapping paper usually doesn't reach all the way to the edge. We're basically just trying to cover as much of the actual book as we can, so we're only seeing the brown wrapping paper and the tape and none of the actual cover of the book so we don't accidentally paint it. When you tape these corners on the inside of the spine of the book, try to make sure you don't get any tape on the actual white pages of the book itself, because it'll tear a little bit sometimes if you do. Then, once you've done all that, the book is ready to be painted. And now it's time to paint. But first, let me go over some of the things that you'll need to do that. So I have two pieces of plywood that are slightly larger than the book itself, and then I hold those in place with these 3 wood clamps. I've gotten away with just using 2 before, but I've also used 4. You don't really need to keep them too tight in order to keep the inside of the book safe. After that, I have the decals I'm using, which you have to make sure are small enough to fit between the covers of the book. Then I have a small makeshift ruler where I've measured where I want the decals on the book so that the spacing is correct. And then of course some breathing protection so you're not inhaling paint particles. The airbrush I'm using is a Master Airbrush Cool Runner, and I'll put a link in the video description. There's probably some cheaper options available out there, but this one came with all the accessories, so that's why I got it. This book I'm painting black, and I found that acrylic paint seemed to work the best. Also, I use a little bit of acrylic flow medium. It doesn't take too much, probably 2 to 3 drops of flow medium per 10 drops of paint. Alright, and now it's time to get started. One other important thing is to make sure you mark which way up is on your book before you put the wood pieces on, because after you put the clamps on, you won't be able to tell anymore. At least if it matters for the orientation of your stickers like it does for mine. Next, it's time to put on our stickers using our little measuring device, or not using a measuring device and just going by however you feel that day. It's up to you. It is real important to make sure the stickers are pressed real tight against the book so that way you don't accidentally get any paint underneath the stickers. Alright, painting time for real this time. Painting is a lot of fun and relaxing. If I'm doing more than one book, then sometimes I'll put on some music or listen to an audiobook. Unfortunately, there's a lot more time setting everything up than there is actually painting. I usually give it 2 to 3 coats, and for the paint I'm using, you don't have to wait for it to dry in between, so I just do it all at once. And it's important to make sure that you spray at kind of an oblique angle there so you get all the edges along the cover underneath the cardboard. Then, after I'm satisfied that everything is fully painted, I let it sit for a day before we go to the next step, which is taking the covers off and checking it out. Alright, and now it's time to see how our book came out after we've given it a day to dry. So first we take off our wood clamps. So we can take our pieces of wood off. Alright, the moment of truth. Time to take off the stickers. Tweezers really help here, and this part is actually pretty satisfying. See the first one. Not bad actually. Kind of like a deck of Pokemon cards. You don't know what you're going to get. Still looking pretty good. 2 more to go. Nice. Last one. Sucks when you get 3 of them right, but one of them comes out getting painted over. Nice. All 4 of them are looking good. This part's also pretty satisfying, crackling the pages, getting the paint separated from between the individual pages. And now it's time to take our wrapping paper off. Make sure we didn't get any on the cover. And there you go. That's how I make a sprayed edge version of my book, Malphas Necromancer Unchained, which you can get in the link below. And now you know how to make your own sprayed edge books. If you watched this far, please consider liking and subscribing for more videos on how to make books look cool, as well as updates on the next book of Malphas Necromancer Unchained.